here, and I know you're probably sick to death of this, and it may be the kind of thing that will follow you the rest of your life. The deal with the chair. You flipped a chair onto the floor, the Purdue game. You must be tired of hearing that.
Well, but, you know, I've not really discussed exactly everything that went on behind it, but
there was a story behind the chair throwing.
Well, people jump at conclusions automatically with the thing, and the game is kind of going on, and I hear somebody across the floor keep hollering, "Coach! Coach! Coach Knight!" And I try not, I get all kinds of suggestions. I try not to pay any attention to it, and finally I get up, and I'm up and down a lot, and one time I'm standing up, and I look across the floor, and Coach Knight! And here's a little old lady across the floor that reminded me of my grandmother.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I thought so, and I thought particularly to take time out during the course of a tough game. And I said, "Did you want me for something?" You have so far, could I have your chair?
Flipped it on over. I didn't realize it. There it is. Whoa!
When I became the head coach at West Point, I was the youngest coach in the country, head coach. I was 24 years old. And I had been in the Army, but I was a PFC, a private first class. That's about as low as you can get and still be in the Army. So now I'm out of the Army. I've fulfilled my 2-year commitment, and I'm the head coach at West Point. And I think that being inventive is really important. I think, how can I do this a little bit better? Or, you know, this isn't working. What have I got to do here? I always thought in those ways. And in this particular circumstance, I'm now the head coach at West Point in basketball. That's about as far down on the ladder as you could be. I mean, the guy that sweeps floors is more important at West Point than the basketball coach is. And so I'd call and I'd say, "This is Coach Knight, the basketball office. I'd like to speak to Major Cardillo." And some sergeant would answer, and he'd say, "He's busy right now, click." Well, this went on 3 times when I was trying to reach somebody that was working with me. Well, to begin with, when I was a PFC in the Army, my 3 assistants that were coaching the freshman team with me, but they were my assistants, and I'm a PFC, I had a colonel, a major, and a captain as my assistants, and I'm a PFC. And nothing tickled me more than to say, "Okay, now I'm going to be gone." I had to scout, do all the scouting for the varsity. I said, "I'm going to be gone. Don't you son of just fuck up anything while I'm gone." Major, a captain, and a colonel, whatever the hell it was. I kind of enjoyed that as a PFC. And so now that I'm the head coach, and I think being, to me, one of the most...
Bob Knight, the former legendary coach of Indiana and, of course, the Texas Tech and Army, has died at the age of 43. The brilliant coach, legendary coach, nevertheless, that he had lots of altercations during his tenure where he coached, but of course some describe him as a bully and others describe him as a perfect coach. Indeed, he was a perfect coach because you cannot win close to 1,000 games, for example, where when he was at Army, he won so many games, most especially during, I think, the 70s. He went on to join Indiana, and where he coached from 1971 to 2000. He's part of that rare breed that is no longer available because he comes from the 60s, 70s, and of course the 80s, where people demanded will, demanded hard work, demanded conduct, and of course it was always accompanied with a bit of humor. This is a man who pushed players to their maximum. He encouraged players to give their all, and that was actually even transferred into their day-to-day lives. He's been regarded as a terrifying tyrant, a man who actually was never to be played with. He had a bit of temper, and of course, he had that larger-than-life kind of personality. In football, soccer, you can call it soccer, I regard him, or I compare him to the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson, because that is part of his personality too. He's been actually regarded as one of the historicals and of course the legends of the basketball game. Bob Knight passed away, according to the family, as a result of a long illness, and he actually passed away at his Bloomington home, that is in Indiana. So many tributes are coming out from the former players to the fans and everyone who really loved, cherished, and enjoyed his tenure during his basketball time. In this moment in time, we are sending our deepest condolences to the family, friends, and every fan who really loved him. We'll be bringing you all the updates in case the funeral and memorial service updates are availed. But of course, his larger-than-life personality will never be forgotten. Rest in power, the King, Bob Knight.